Now let's take a look at the Design and Analysis Parameters tab. RCTS supports a varying number of analysis designs. Using the Design Selection tab, we specify the model for our design. For this demonstration, we are exampling a clustered, blocked design. Here, the title field is used to customize the title shown in the final report. The variable names you see along the left-hand side coincide with their names in the user's manual for ease of your reference. Along the right-hand side of each variable, there is a brief description of that variable. Now let's take a look at the Required Design Parameters tab. On this tab, we specify the inputs that are required for the analysis. Inputs will be disabled if they are not applicable to the currently selected design. TC status is used to name the variable in our dataset that is the indicator for treatment or control. Block ID is used to name the variable in our dataset that identifies the blocks. In this example of an after-school study, the blocks are districts. Cluster ID is used to name the variable in our dataset that identifies the clustering unit, which are schools in this example. Type cluster data indicates that our observations are at the level of individuals versus cluster level averages. The last input on this screen, cluster full, the interface has disabled this input in our example, as it is not applicable to individual level designs. To ease the entry of entering the names of variables from your dataset, RCTS offers the Variable List feature. This feature produces an R or Stata program that will create a plain text file listing the names of variables in your dataset. By importing this list into RCTS, we're able to easily use these variable names in the configuration application. See the section at the end of this video for instructions on how to load the variable list. Once loaded, we can use the variable list to easily insert the names of variables. You can pick a variable from the list and click Insert Variable to insert it into the currently selected field. Alternatively, you can begin typing directly into the field. The autocomplete feature filters as you type to add the variable name. This feature can be very useful to avoid typographic errors when entering your variable names. Now let's take a look at the Optional Design tab. This tab allows further fine-grained control over various aspects of the analysis. These are all filled in with defaults, so you are not required to change them to run the analysis. You can change any of these defaults to suit your purpose. For example, you might adjust the alpha level to control the significance level used in hypothesis testing. There are also options on this screen to control the output in the report, such as Label T and Label C, which allow you to show meaningful names in your context for your treatment and control groups in the report. Also, Limit Print to limit the final report to just the key impact tables. Now let's take a look at the outcome domains. Click 3, Outcomes, Weights, Covariates, and Subgroups. An outcome domain groups similar outcomes to help structure the analysis. At least one outcome domain is required to conduct the analysis. To create an outcome domain, click the button titled New Outcome Domain. This opens the Outcome Details screen. At the top, we specify the title for this outcome domain, a name that relates to the specific class of outcomes for which common analyses are to be conducted. In our theoretical example, this domain is the student's achievement test scores. For each outcome, we enter the variable name for the outcome measure, as well as a descriptive label. You can optionally specify the name of a variable to weight each outcome. And in the last column, you can specify the standard deviation used for the effect size calculation. In the covariates text box, you can provide a variable or multiple covariate variables to obtain a regression-adjusted impact estimates for the analysis of the full sample. Separate each variable name with a space. In addition to outcomes, we can also optionally provide baseline subgroup analyses. To do so, click the button titled New Subgroup Analysis. In the Subgroup Analysis screen, at the top, we provide the variable name that contains the data for this subgroup. The codes and labels are used to differentiate the subgroup's categories. In our example dataset, a 1 signifies that the student was not proficient in math. A 2 to indicate they were proficient in math, or a 3 to indicate they were highly proficient in math. Optionally, you can add a different set of weights for the subgroup analysis than those that were used in the analysis for the full sample. Likewise, you can provide an optional list of covariates specific for this subgroup. In our example, our covariates are the student's gender and their reading score from the prior year. We then use the Save button to save this subgroup. In this example scenario, I want to specify further subgroup analyses. I can use the cloning feature to create a copy of a subgroup I created previously. First, click to highlight the row you want to clone. Then use the Clone Selected button to create a copy of the highlighted subgroup. A new subgroup is then created with the title Clone Of placed in front of the subgroup's name. Now I can use this Edit button to revise only the inputs I need to change. In addition to cloning subgroups, you can also clone an entire outcome domain and all of its subgroups using the same method. Click to highlight the row you want to clone, then click the Clone Selected button to create a copy of the highlighted outcome domain. A new outcome domain is then created. Using the fourth button along the top, we have the opportunity to optionally specify variables for a baseline equivalence analysis. In our example dataset, we will use the student's gender and their math and reading scores from the prior year to assess baseline equivalence of the treatment and control groups. Here again, we can use the variable list feature to easily add multiple variables for this field. Similar to the covariates, if you are entering multiple variables here, ensure that they are separated with a space.